The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
You know, we just talked about Bitcoin and everything going on there and how it's down. But, you know, one of the other biggest cryptocurrencies, of course, is Ethereum. A lot of excitement going on there. So joining us now to discuss the crypto markets, particularly Ethereum, is Charles Allen, CEO of blockchain infrastructure and data firm BTCS. Morning, Charles.
Lawrence, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. You know, we just talked Bitcoin a little bit here, but of course, you guys are experts despite the BTC in their name. It's Ethereum is your major push here. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in Ethereum right now with the price of Ether. You know, we've seen dramatic rises over the past several weeks. So where are you? What do you see happening in the short term, at least, and how do you think it's affecting the overall crypto market in the sense that is that at least supporting even the likes of a Bitcoin, which is a much larger market cap, but it is maybe not having as good of a day?
No, I think Ethereum definitely could be a silver lining here, right? We've seen Ethereum down below 1,000. Now it's back up into the 1,600 range. The options activity in Ethereum, surpasses that in Bitcoin recently. And, I think all of this really hinges around the upcoming merge, knock on wood, next month, moving to a proof of stake system from a proof of work. And that would be, in our mind, probably one of the biggest catalysts in the crypto industry, right? It'd be the biggest kind of fork. So, or software upgrade, however you want to look at it. And so I think that is, from our perspective, huge, right? If we can move to a more sustainable blockchain with all the benefits of moving to that proof of stake system. So that really is, I think, a silver lining. And when you compare it to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's been kind of pegged as this, hedge against inflation. The reality is it's a risk on asset. Right, with all of the hacks in crypto, whether it's the recent Solana wallet hack, the perception of crypto is just not one that's safe enough to really have that same Bitcoin's gold type analogy, right? Until the industry has grown up a bit, that doesn't really hold, despite the fact that it has a limited supply. And I think the developments and the interest in NFTs, whether you look at who's going to conferences, where the activity is, in DeFi, et cetera, really leads to Ethereum being a major player, potentially even bigger than Bitcoin in the future.
In the 60% run-up that we just talked about here, who are the players exactly? I mean, it doesn't seem, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem that it's institutionally driven, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe it in fact is institutionally driven. What are you seeing there? Do you see it as institution mostly, or do you see it as retail investors jumping in on it, or a combination of both? And if it is a combination of both, how would you break it down percentage-wise if you could fathom hazard a guess there?
I don't have specific data on the breakdown, though. With the individuals and institutions I talk to, I would say it's a combination of both. Right. I will say institutions, generally speaking, right now, a lot of them are sitting, on the sidelines, kind of taking a little bit of a wait and see approach, whether that's looking at crypto and or equities, and slowly kind of coming in. Right. I mean, the broader markets are in a challenging situation on a global basis with what's going on in the world and inflation, and I'm sure interest rates getting raised in the UK as well as in the US as well.
Just wanted to dive into your short-term outlook. So taking a look at global stocks, actually global stocks are all up. I seeing a lot of green, but in the crypto markets seeing a lot of red. I wonder what is accounting for that disparity.
Well, I think as you look at stocks, most of the, when you break down stocks, I'd say almost by market cap, right? Like the stocks in the crypto space are down from their 52-week highs about 80%. But most of the crypto stocks, excluding Coinbase, are kind of, in the small to mid cap or micro cap level, which tend to recover, have a slower recovery than some of their larger peers. And so I think that's kind of a catalyst, right? The money tends to flow back into larger companies first, and then kind of move down. So, and then you add kind of risk on risk, right? If the equity markets are shaky and crypto is shaky, crypto equity company tend to be on the slower to recover. But I think there's also a lot of opportunity there.
Also want to talk about Solana. So the Solana ecosystem has suffered a well-publicized hack lately of the user hot wallets. And yet I see Solana price actually pretty not really that affected considering this hack and other exploits. And I wonder, why do you think Solana is so steady despite all this pressure?
I think it's, if you look at, Solana's blockchain wasn't hacked, right? So that's kind of number one. And there wasn't a flaw in the chain itself, right? We can make the same argument of, Mt. Gox in Bitcoin taking a step back. And I remember living through that. And, those who weren't familiar with crypto thought crypto was dead. The reality is it was just an exchange. There was nothing wrong with the blockchain. And so looking at a hot wallet getting hacked, I mean, it's one of these education moments for, I think, new people coming into crypto that you really need to learn how to secure your funds, right? And this isn't a new theme. This is like a decade of why haven't people figured this out? If you have a lot of money, you don't put it in your you don't walk around with a briefcase of $1 million, right? In a bad neighborhood, you go put that in a secure place, whether that's a bank or however you want to secure it. If you have substantial funds, you should not keep it on a phone app. That's just ridiculous, right? You should take your mnemonics and you should take them offline in cold storage. You can use a hardware wallet. You can, what we do, we take ours and slice them, and we have a very, secure protocol. But I think it really needs to get easier for individuals and retail holders to figure out how to secure their crypto so that they don't have issues. Because that really wasn't a Solana issue. That was a wallet issue.
I feel like you just very aptly summed up the mood in crypto right now, which is kind of like walking around with a briefcase full of $1 million in a bad neighborhood. That's sums up a lot of the headlines. But I guess my question for you is, a question on a lot of people's minds. Where do you see the bottom coming in? Do you think we've hit it in terms of Bitcoin? Do you think there's a lot further to go down? Just what is your short-term outlook for Bitcoin?
I think we've probably hit the bottom in Bitcoin, though I'm not necessarily as confident there. I think in Ethereum, it's up, as you said earlier, almost 60% from its, sub 1,000 level. I think assuming the merge goes through, okay, that's probably, we've probably seen the bottom. With Bitcoin, it's a little bit of a harder one, right? It's, I think we've probably hit it, but I have not quite as much confidence that we aren't, that it couldn't, retouch levels. And it really comes down to what goes on a global scale.